to a special Tuesday night edition of USL Championships Wednesday Night Soccer on ESPN3. Greater Nevada Field in Reno playing site. Reno always good at home playing at altitude. Tonight they welcome a rival from the desert, Phoenix Rising, who are the hottest team in the league at present. Hi everybody, Mike Watts, Devin Kerr on hand for the call this one. Devin, Corey Herzog is playing at an otherworldly level right now. He also reached an important goal-scoring plateau recently as well.
Stepped off a little bit in 2018 with St. Louis FC, but with all due respect, it just wasn't the right system for him. And yes, he hit 51 goals, just last game back 2. But what's interesting about him going forward is a bit of a poacher. There's nothing wrong with that. Even his manager admits it. And when he's paired up with the likes of Danny Mazowski up top, they play very well off of each other. It's a different look than what you're going to get out of Brian Brown. The interesting thing to keep an eye on for Corey Herzog, only 2 of his goals come against the playoff team. That was all the way back in that 4-1 win against Sacramento. Now an opportunity to showcase it against the best in the West.
So Herzog impressing for Reno. For Phoenix right now, it's absolutely everybody. They're the highest scoring offense in the league.
It's quite interesting because when you talk to people about Phoenix Rising, they think to this high-style, run-and-gun type team that just slams it down your throat and goes 100 miles an hour. Not the case whatsoever. Rick Shantz admitted when he took over from Patrice Carteron, he wanted to play a bit more. Great showcase of what this team's able to do. They push you to your limits, but they also have the patience. Calistri has an opportunity, pulls it back here, and they recycle. Everybody gets a touch on this ball. In fact, the amount of movement they had, the only person that doesn't touch this ball in this sequence is A.J. Cochran, one of your center backs. Joey Farrell gets involved a few times. James Musa has a nice stretch, but all of it comes down to the quick little look up here by Junior Flemings, Adam John with the finishing touches. But as slow as they can be and slow things down and really make you think about it, remember, this is a rattlesnake that can strike at any given moment. A lot of it comes in the form of Adam John up top, ready to release his venom.
John is available for this game, but there are a couple players who are not. A couple of the Reggae boys who are away at Gold Cup. Brian Brown starting in their opening Gold Cup game. Junior Flemings coming off the bench. Kevon Lambert was in the 23, but did not feature for Jamaica against Honduras in an important win in Kingston last night. But even with those players out, it's a star-studded matchup. There is a decent amount of history between these two teams, and historically, it's been very close. Reno, Phoenix, Wednesday Night Soccer is coming up next on ESPN3. Welcome to the USL Championships Wednesday Night Soccer. Reno 1868 and Phoenix Rising, both in the upper half of the playoff picture in the USL's Western Conference. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr on hand. Reno 1868 with the precise same 18 and starting lineup as last time out. when they won 4-2 against the Galaxy 2.
Biggest difference you'll see from Ian Russell's squad, Reno 1868 this year, is they sit more of a block in the middle, diamond shape. Seth Kasipli will sit in that holding midfielder role and really allow this team to get forward. Raul Mendiola, nice pickup in the offseason, and keep an eye on the outside backs because they hold quite well. They'll actually tuck in and condense the middle of the field, making it that much more difficult to go route one. The visitors, same as last week. I mean, they were so good offensively right now, and the defense doesn't get enough credit either. Zach Lubin, great goalkeeper. Back four stays the same. Duiji Mala, you and I were discussing him, done quite well. AJ Cochran steps out, had a little bit of a knock. They're working him back into the 11. Mala has stepped in quite nicely to earn that shoot. And of course, Lambert away on international duty. James Musa is the glue that holds this whole thing together, sitting in between that back line, but also helping them spring going forward.
Phoenix 5 consecutive victories. They are the hottest team in the USL Championship right now. And Reno hoping that they're the ones who can end that run. Devin, you think about Reno playing at home, and you know, as we get close to kickoff, Ian Russell said, hey, we're in pretty good form too, by the way.
People don't probably give them enough credit, to be honest. Based on everything that's gone on in the Western Conference, New Mexico was the big talk for a while. Phoenix has now taken that over, although United thinks that they have a shot in the Open Cup. We'll see tomorrow. And with Reno, just slowly biding their time, doing quite well. And the home thing is the big one to keep an eye on. We'll talk a bit further on that in depth. It's exactly what they've been able to do against the likes of Phoenix Rising, Sac Republic, and New Mexico United over the course of the past year and a half or so.
Sun setting in Reno. We're underway for Wednesday night soccer. Phoenix in red, Reno in blue. Show you all the different views of here in Nevada Field. Mentioned it pregame, Devin. This is a Phoenix team that has learned how to build out of the back far better than they did at the beginning of this season. Mala plays it back. Farrell ahead.
They've got an opportunity with this new style that they've put into place where they do play, and they go into this traditional 4-3-3, but they invert their 10, so they play with two, and the likes of John Beccaro and Aguinaga. They allow them to get forward, and watch the rotation out of the midfielders, because they come in, they come out, they'll rotate outside. You'll see it a lot. Asante's now started to bounce side to side. Joey Calistri recently as well.
Feet of Matt Bersano. Reno enters winners of two of their last three. 10 goals in that three-game span, playing so well. Richards can really get forward from that right fullback role. Richards lofting, header is too high. And our first look at the great goal scorer that is Corey Herzog.
You break him down on tape. Doesn't necessarily blow you off with speed. Hold up play decent, not amazing. But it's one of those things as a striker. Right place, right time. The true number 9s always have that fashion about them where they just always find themselves in the most appropriate position. Good look on the back post there for Herzog. Couldn't finish it off early though.
Zach Lubin, the netminder for Phoenix. Rivas. On the turn, Jean overrun by Kasipli. Sofsky can't hold that up. It's with Dumbuya. Asante. Dumbuya right to Kasipli. It's a bit of a shame tonight we don't get to see, as Mendiola plays it forward, Linda Mafeka. Mendiola on the turn. Mendiola creating, trying to get the shot away. Is that a handball? At most, that would be incidental for Beccaro. Lubin. Mala. That run on him a bit. Amadou Dia. Push there, but Musa holds onto the ball. Mendiola tried to swallow that up. Here comes Phoenix into the final third. Calistri cutting it in front right at Bersano. It's a good idea from Phoenix.
Appreciative from Musa as well. Not a look that you will traditionally see out of him stepping in from that holding midfielder role. A lot of time he sits deep and stays disciplined.
Masovsky let the shot rip, and he had Mendiola off to his left, his arms outstretched looking for the ball. Mendiola. Hold up. Herzog. Lofting back post. Grabbed by Lubin. Calistri, you felt like he maybe played the best game of his Phoenix career last time out.
With guys that are really involved in the offensive run of play, got to give confidence. And it's difficult to do that when you've got the likes of Junior Flemings in front of you. Always comes on as a substitute, and to play that role is a good thing. You can be a super sub, and he's showcased what he's capable of. Unfortunately,
Sante early, too far for John.
it's been 20, 30-minute spells, ends of games, and a lot of times Phoenix has been out in front. An opportunity now that Flemings is with Jamaica at Gold Cup. Now he gets to go over there for Calistri. And Calistri sits there and he bides his time, and it's impressive, to be honest, to see how well he's worked himself into this system, because going forward, it's quite easy to say they play a 4-3-3, and we're going to be direct, and we're going to stay on this near line. We'll play balls into the channel, but that's not the case. His goal last week versus Orange County was a good look at that, where he rotated all the way back over to the near post. Nice little flick on from John, and he finished it off.
Masovsky by Dia, lays it along the penalty spot, lifted up by Rivas.
Speaking of biding time, look at this ball to the back post. Masovsky waiting for the run. Sergio Rivas has to come all the way back over. Good layoff, and that's the thing you have to account for with these two squads. So impressive are the managers and the systems that they put in place, that each player comfortable would be a kind word. It's much further than that. They have such an ability to recognize their surroundings and step outside of their comfort zones. They can make a step further this way, shift a little left to right, and still fit right into what they're trying to get done.
Asante, John onto his left, he scores for Phoenix! 7th minute, releases his venom indeed, rising lead.
Notice the high press, little turnover on the far touchline. Immediately comes back in. Good little ball back across. And how about just a little look up on the left foot? Number 9, 4-9. How impressive is that by Adam John? Great bury in the bottom corner. First blood, Phoenix rising.
John in the 7th minute, and just like last time out, where Phoenix was the beneficiary of a Kevin Alston own goal in the 6th minute, Phoenix has gotten right on top of their opposition, and they think no one wants to go chase them the way they play. And for Rick Shantz and his side, mission accomplished on the road. Great start. I hesitate to say that's against the run of play, but Reno had gotten a couple pretty decent looks not too far before, and they may have another one here. Mendiola sliding in, and this is off the outside of the net from Richards. 1 goal in the last 3 meetings combined between these sides. It looks like both sides are here to play tonight.
That's their right back. Just stepping inside as Corey Herzog has a word with our referee. Well done by Brett Richards, just allowing this to develop. Johnny on the spot, can't finish it off on the near post. Zach Lubin has to be careful here. Notice the amount of space the goalkeeper leaves open, even with 2 defenders and the likes of Amadou Dia and Joey Farrell sitting home.
What a story Lubin's become this year. Began as the backup to Carl Wazinski. Wazinski, a phenomenal 2018. Got chance to get a couple of shutouts back-to-back, Fresno, El Paso, and that sort of proved to be the run that gave him the shirt full-time. 11 starts, only 6 goals allowed.
It's quite interesting and how ironic it's been the way it played out as well. Back in 2018, Zach Lubin had gotten an opportunity to win that shirt, had gone out, Open Cup run, got a couple of games under his belt, was playing quite nicely, and he picked up the injury versus Colorado Springs. A little gash on that jawline, and he had to sit out. Wazinski steps back in. Fast forward to 2019. Carl Wazinski, the main man for the first 3 matches, gives up a rough goal late on to Ishjom against Colorado Springs. In steps Zach Lubin, never looked back.
Richards reached the byline, and service is well out of play. All of a sudden, Lubin leads the Phoenix defense that's allowed just 14 goals this year. That's second in the West, but in the much more stringent Eastern Conference, it's proven a lot harder to circumnavigate the goalkeeper. Calistri. Memory serves, they were toying a bit with whether or not Calistri wanted to change positions to get a little more playing time. He was steadfast in where he was. 64 appearances the last 2 years. As Calistri turns on the ball now. Chance to get a run of games here with Junior Flemings on a Jamaica side that leads Group C at the Gold Cup after knocking off a team that was an intercontinental playoff away from the World Cup, Honduras, in the 2018 cycle. Throw for Lacroix. Dallando at the feet of Bersano. Flicked onward, Calistri. Asante making himself available. Calistri trying to go to the back post with the outside of his foot, and big Adam John was lurking. Dia covered by Mala. One thing that'll be worth watching tonight with Reno is a man marking system that Matias Almeida runs at San Jose. Reno is a hybrid affiliate of the San Jose Earthquakes. It's a system that's bum-fuzzled even the best. Greg Vanny and Jesse Marsh of Toronto and New York Red Bulls struggled to deal with when Almeida was running Chivas. He led them to a Champions League title with this system. Turned over here as far as Musa is able to recover.
He's hoping with this newly implemented system and the Earthquakes that he has the opportunity to become the man that wins Champions League and with Chivas, Mexican League. And of course, MLS. No one's been able to do it. No one's been able to break down that barrier. And how about if you're the first? With their Open Cup run, they might be able to sneak their way in, and to do it in both of them, that'd be quite nice. And keep an eye on kind of intermittently how that starts to play out for Reno.
Richards chested back by Masovsky. Phoenix the other way. It's obvious when it's happening to a refined soccer palate like yours, but less so to me.
Well, the way that it plays out, and you're not seeing it right now, but it is 100% a man marking system, but they push it to the brink. And that can work for you and against you. It works for you because you're always applying pressure on the ball. And the ball runner has to account for one-on-one attention. That's very difficult to do because so many teams are zonal marking. Pass left, pass right, it's a bit easier at the pro level. And to continue man marking, that's, to be honest, what you see a lot at the youth levels. But when you take it to where he plays what's called a libre, where basically there's one player that floats, laying and waiting. So right at the last minute, they pass. So you can have a 2v1. If you get it right, it's amazing. If you get it wrong, absolute pandemonium, and it can turn into a 3 or 4-0 rout.
He said it's either effective or you're embarrassed. And the early results for San Jose this year were rather uncouth. However, they've turned it around. Of course, that guy, Chris Wondolowski, on a goal-scoring tear the last couple of months, a big reason why as well. Dia slipping it forward, and that's an Adam John foul. It's Calistri. John allowing Dia. Dia bouncing, nothing really there. A little extra push on the back end. Vaqueros put a target on his back moving forward. Reno in transition, Mendiola. Ball caroms out, and a shot now for Reno to the near post. Lubin has to get down to make the stop on Herzog.
Some interesting decision-making going on in the final third for both of these teams. Amadou Dia just a second ago had Adam John sitting right at the top of the 18, could have easily played him in. Same goes for Corey Herzog here. He's got the overlapping run of Sam Gleedle on the back post. Doesn't utilize him. It allows that extra 2, 3, 4 seconds for the backlines to recompose themselves. Goalkeeper can square up and get set. Quicker in decision-making, better decision-making. Definitely leads to a goal in those situations.
Toward Masovsky. Quarter hour in, Lubin will snatch this. Phoenix, a perfect 6 wins in the 6 opportunities in which they led first this year. Jumped in front in the 7th minute. Adam John, goal number 9 of the season. And all those early homage to Chris Cortez, how much they'd miss him. John has stepped right into those big goal-scoring shoes, and he's closing in on the scoring leadership in the USL Championship. Calistri, wide open game so far. John in hold-up play and turned over. Rivas, there's room to exploit, and Gleedle watches this fly away. Select is the official ball supplier of the USL Championship and many of the finest leagues in the world. Since 1947, Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. For the latest Select products and special offers, you can visit selectsportamerica.com. Good start here for Phoenix. Their 20th goal in their last 5+ games. Sante slipping through.
As amazing as that is on the offensive side, and you have to give all that credit. Look at what they've given up. I mean, they are so good on the defensive side. With having an offense that can stretch so many teams, including your own. Rick Schantz admits that for a while that was one of their biggest issues, is not going as a composed unit forward and back.
Herzog lost that.
Not the case recently with back-to-back shutouts against Tulsa Roughnecks, Orange County recently, very impressive there. We're down 2-0 on the road at Zion's Bank against Real Monarchs, then rattled off 4. And you just keep going. Shutout when Las Vegas Lights came to town. Dollar Beer Night, we've heard about those escapades. 11-0 now. Reno feel like they may have a say in that argument. Phoenix brushed that aside.
Well, meanwhile, Reno's neighbor in Vegas, $2 tequila night. That is a blatant ripoff of Dollar Beer Night. Although I would say that if it works for them, there's going to be a team coming up with the next step in that progression sooner than later. Is it 11-0, 12-0 now on Dollar Beer Night?
11-0. 11-0. I mean, what a number.
I got a push notification to my cell phone from the ESPN app.
Yeah. So what's $3 night?
I Crown Royal, I don't.
Cotton candy. Let's keep it G-rated.
Sergio Rivas, they've been dying to get him minutes. They wish it didn't come because of Lindo Mafeka's current injury, but chance for 97 in blue to make his way into the starting 11 with more regularity. Richards. Levels at the top of the 18, chested back, Mendiola, contact and no whistle. Amadou Dia trying to separate play there at 19 minutes.
Seen some impressive play on the ball by Rising. Reno starting to get involved in that as well. Well done by Sergio Rivas just to allow that to develop in front of him. Thought maybe he might be the one to take a knock. Just good job by Mendiola, trusting the process. And that was that overload we talked about where Mendiola comes all the way in, so does Gleedle. And then the outside backs get involved. Turn it really into 6 or 7 in the middle as Mazovsky drops back in.
Gleedle. Lacroix marching toward goal. Gleedle, chance to shoot. Little deflect, corner coming for Reno. When Reno gets the ball into the final third, they do recycle it pretty well and work from the wings pretty well.
Especially in and around the 18. I mean, this is a very condensed area with not a lot of room to work with. So you've got Mazovsky sitting in there, Herzog, Sergio Rios right at the top, but still an opportunity just with quick little touches and tight spaces to get a strike off.
Ian Russell, the head coach for Reno, one of the best in this league. He's proven it for years now. Seth Kasipli skied into the air. Lubin having trouble with this, bounces near the goal line and gets cleared. There's a ton of traffic in front of Lubin. He's been spared his blushes here. Gleedle bouncing down, shot on the half volley by the ever-dangerous Corey Herzog.
Zach Loudon not happy with Lee Badawi, our head referee, and lack of intrusion on the previous play. Felt like he was impeded when that ball went up in the air, too much space on him. Good pressure coming right now from Reno. Well done just moving it up. Phoenix having a little trouble with the rotation of players. Here's a really good look at, they can apply their press as well. It's going to be much more intermittent compared to the visitor squad. To your point just a second ago, Ian Russell, one of the big guys in not just the Western Conference, but USL Championship that always makes a name for himself.
May I say, he might be the next guy to take the step to MLS or wherever next is for him. He is deserving of the opportunity. Rivas gets pulled down by Musa. It is interesting. I think he's really taken well to Matias Almeida as the head coach in San Jose and taking some of those unique little twists that he puts on the game. The man marking is probably the most important distinction between what San Jose did last year and this year, but you do wonder what he could do. Richards crossing in front. Slide down to deflect it away by Mala.
How difficult is that to do as well when you've already got your own system in place?
Right.
And you now have to pull from someone else and find a way to implement it and then fine tune it as well. The growing pains, very difficult. Ian Russell admitted that, listen, I can only do it in little spots here and there, especially because everybody has to be on the same page. And when you're playing in the manner as what you're seeing now, yes, I know they're down 1-0, but they're knocking around. There's no fear within this squad, and they have no problem going toe-to-toe with Phoenix Rising.
Herzog. Mendiola can't shoot from here, he will. Lubin slaps it down. And Devin, I can't help but think about Brendan Burke in Bethlehem with the change they've made with Ernst Tanner as the new sporting director there. So it's the Red Bull style of play. And he said there are going to be some real rough moments while we learn this new system.
Pretty phenomenal analogy. And when you go further, the only thing with Brendan is that his system was dictated to him initially from Jim Curtin and what they were trying to do there. So when Ernst comes in, yeah, it's a full 180. He did say that the writing was on the wall a little bit. And if you don't know what's going on over there in the East with Philadelphia Union, Bethlehem Steel, Reading, they basically went from a 4-2-3-1 to this 4-4-2 block where outside boys rotate in a bit more. They condense the middle, kind of what you see out of Reno a little bit, but they don't play in a diamond necessarily. Everybody has the freedom to explore.
Rivas unimpeded. Maybe Phoenix can get out in transition, where in past years they have been most dangerous. And a dangerous slide in from behind, and Mendiola will likely pick up a card for that effort. He will.
Done by Aguinaga here to just recognize the threat. Negative touch back across the body. Doesn't allow the Mexican to truly track down the counterattack. As one of their number 10 stays down on the floor, and both Aguinaga, Vaquero having a little trouble on the defensive side of things, getting in touch with James Musa, accounting for all the players in blue rotating into the middle of the field. That's why you're seeing so many opportunities. And this may turn into one of those spots where they're going to have to sit and sit and sit and then spring and go the other direction, which kind of counteracts what we highlighted at the top of the show, but it is one of those many looks that they're able to give you.
By the way, Aguinaga's got that physio tape going all the way up to his neck. I don't see that often. Well, there are options here. Vaquero, the Spaniard, and Asante. And this conversation might be a chance to simply tap it into play. Vaquero going for goal. He dips it just over the crossbar. Fans, you can follow Reno, Phoenix, and the rest of the USL Championship all season long on ESPN+. It's home to the USL Championship, League One, MLS, UFC, and more. Join the over 2 million sports fans who've already discovered ESPN+ and watch the championship live every week. ESPNplus.com. John's ball back was intercepted. Rivas. Galidal. Pokes it through. Get all the way to Herzog. Here's Asante, one of the best players in the USL Championship, both statistically and in the impact he can make in a game. That was the matchup I was looking forward to. They're small and diminutive, but so offensively creative and intelligent. Mafeka and Asante were robbed of Mafeka's presence. He might be available against Portland on the weekend, though. Still get to see Asante in all his glory. A glory that was shown on SportsCenter Top 10 last week.
How obnoxious was that goal?
It's obnoxious to the goalkeeper. I thought it was sweet.
Step up, 40 yards out. Hit it with his instep, mind you.
He did.
I mean, this is hit with his instep, not with his laces.
And it bounced in front of the goal line and bounced into the net, too. Richards.
That's one of the ones as a player, you just kind of look around and nod in approval of your own strike and just add a little insult to injury.
Zach Carroll. Headed back toward Masovsky. Masovsky's got around Lubin, Mendiola, and Farrell steps in front. Vital moment, or that's a tap-in. Reno has had a lot of bright moments so far. Cross field, and Richards is available again and serves. That was nearly an impressive lash by Herzog, but he missed the boat. Lacroix. Lubin has to punch this. Graphic is right, folks. It's a special Tuesday night edition of Wednesday Night Soccer. We'll be back on a Wednesday night, June the 26th for El Paso, San Antonio. Aguinaga. Asante. As for tonight, number 1 and number 5 in the Western Conference. Masovsky. Away by Musa. Dia. Calistri. That's a dangerous ball, but does seem to break things up a little bit. Phoenix pushing forward. Lacroix has to cover some space. Dumbuya crossing. Calistri collects. Ripped away. Well done by Carroll. Musa reloads. Offside flag raised.
It's quite interesting with Reno. Keep an eye on the outside backs, likes of Brent Richards on the right, Duke Lacroix on the left. What they're doing going forward, unless they truly have a break with numbers, which hasn't necessarily been the case. Phoenix sitting on the defensive side of things. They're only committing to one side. So if the ball's on the near touchline, Raul Mendiola's on it, the overlapping run is coming from Richards. You're not seeing that on the backside. They're not overlapping and trying to load a bunch in the box. They're just allowing their playmakers in the middle to get involved in the run of play. And what's happening going the other direction, Phoenix struggling to break them down, because even when they try and go quick, they've already got coverage. So if Richards overcommits himself, Kisipli can drop back in. Carroll, Galindo, and Lacroix, you can immediately turn it into a back four. Phoenix haven't been able to account for that, really counteract it going the other direction because they're not overcommitting numbers as well. So a lot of cat and mouse going on right now between the two managers.
Lidl, we can get through. Low plays it ahead. Lacroix. Rivas, his 6th start of the year. Searching for Masovsky. Aginaga looked like he picked up a knock. Trainers come out to look at him. Chance for everybody to get a little bit of water here. It's, oh, Devin, put that down. What are you doing?
Water break.
Yeah, okay.
Hydration break.
It is not a hydration break. $3 adult water night. That's Devin's terminology. Yes, it is.
That's right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Can appreciate a nice cider, perhaps. Nice. No?
I'll work that in, along with everything else.
Temperatures in the 80s in Reno. Of course, Phoenix has been playing in 100+ degree heat for a while now.
Let's just combine them all together. We'll take $1 beer night from Phoenix. I'll take the tequila from Vegas. Hear me out. And don't forget, Hartford Athletic had a $2 hot dog night.
This just sounds like happy hour to me.
What do you think I was before the game?
Yeah, happy 90 minutes.
That's right. Aginaga, as he gets looked to by the training staff. Last thing you want right now is have to make a substitution. Just a third of the way through the match's far side. You get a look with Corey Herzog throwing it over the end line, doing the diplomatic things that he's always been known to.
Indeed. Worth noting, Aginaga, a guy out of the Rayo and the Real Madrid Academy, really well-versed at the academy age. Eventually came to the United States to play at Ryder, and on the New York Red Bulls as a 4th-round pick, the very back end of the 4th round. Played for Red Bull too and had some pretty impressive moments. Calistri heading that forward. Slipped ahead, Masovsky, obvious tug, but Masovsky continues and curls that away from the far post. Mala tugging him all the way.
There's some frustration on the tail end of this by Masovsky, but the referee gets it right. Play on. One-on-one opportunity. If there's a little touch to push him away from it, he would have called it back. But it's a good job by Badawi to just let them go toe-to-toe with each other Mala picked up a little trailing arm right in that voice box area as they tend to him. But the opportunities just going by the wayside for Reno here. They've had a couple here in the opening 35 minutes. Haven't been able to close things out.
Phoenix's goal remains unbreached. And Lubin will go to work. I don't know how you put this to air on television, but I guess it would be darned if you do, darned if you don't, if you're the referee there. If you call that back, you might be going, hey, I was through on goal. Why don't I get a shot at this? And if you allow advantage and you don't get the opportunity to go your way, I think you feel the way that Musovski does. I don't blame Musovski for feeling that way, but I think no matter what, there was going to be some question for the referee.
He had the advantage. He had a better look in that situation than if you bring that ball 25 yards away from a dead ball.
Yeah.
Because then you're dealing with a 5-man wall. You let everybody recompose themselves, and sitting on a direct free kick, yeah, I get it. It's a look, but it's a half chance at best from there. When you've got a one-on-one staring Zach Lubin right in the face with a boatload of goal to work with on the back post, I'll take that any day of the week.
Sante came right to Mendiola. Lubin will come out. Flip it forward. Just a little bit off the mark for Dia. Well, this might be where you're missing Brian Brown. Maybe the best back-to-goal player in Ian Russell's opinion in the league. Back heel, and Herzog couldn't combine with Musovski. Bunch of red shirts in the way.
Brown for Reno. Defensively, that's where they're missing Lambert as well.
Yeah.
There's a massive amount of space in the middle to work with for Reno. And even just the last overlapping run. Interesting that John Becerra is the one dropping so deep right now, not just from a distribution standpoint as you see him spraying to the far touchline, but also when they're trying to set in a block, he's the one coming further back than Aguinaga. That's not normally the look you see from Rising.
Lifted forward. Aguinaga winds up Galindo, came out of the Chivas Academy, did play with their top team in League MX. Ball caught between two minds, recovered by Dia. Asante. John. Dia throwing in. John. Would have been a soft penalty, to say the least. Get updates and alerts all year long. Follow your club on ESPN.com. Search for Reno or Phoenix, then click the follow button. Keep up latest news and scores, plus reminders on your team's next match. Go to ESPN.com now. Click follow for your club. The foul by Mala, who had pulled all the way out. Get into Raul Mendiola. Hope you're enjoying this Wednesday night soccer, Tuesday night edition. Richards trying to slip it through Calistri. U.S. men's national team playing right now against Guyana in the Gold Cup. Makes this one of the very select few number of games going on this week. The domestic club level, MLS silent, and a U.S. Open Cup ongoing. Couple of USL teams involved, St. Louis and New Mexico. I think teams that coming into the last round, Devin, I think a lot of people felt they could score an upset. New Mexico at Colorado and St. Louis at home against Chicago.
St. Louis a bit more convincing. Took New Mexico United a bit longer, but they got the job done. Now they get to take on the likes of FC Dallas, St. Louis hosting FC Cincinnati. That'll be interesting. Get a look at this little touch by Joey Calistri and Zach Carroll getting stuck in on Abin John. Just an opportunity to slow things down a little bit here before halftime and maybe let the likes of Joey Farrell, Luigi Mala get up. Let the big guys have a little fun. Been quite busy opening 40 minutes against the likes of Mendiola, Mazovsky, and Corey Herzog.
It's Baquero. Lifted up by Farrell, headed back toward John, and struck high by Dia. Hands on his face. Dia hasn't scored yet this year, and that one would have been a goal of the week contender. Mendiola, Rivas looking through in front of him. Simply, Lacroix got forward. Rivas, Lacroix. Lacroix ripping that through the penalty area toward Herzog. Mazovsky, Lacroix.
From one left back to another. Amadou Dia, then Duke Lacroix. Neither one of them really willing to put their finishing touches on these balls that are played in. Good opportunities from both of them.
Yeah, at least Lacroix is historically a really good goal scorer. Offensive Player of the Year in his old college days at Penn in the Ivy League. Once upon a time, won NASL Goal of the Year. This Duke Lacroix guy can strike it with the best of them, it turns out.
As a manager will always tell you, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
That's find a way to make a immediate impact, not necessarily over a long stretch right now. At least that's what Ian Russell will be looking for.
Sometimes it does feel like the wide receiver turned defensive back saying, oh, I've got great hands. Ahead for Rivas. That's the right call. Dia up against him. Reno unbeaten at home this year. You're asking Ian Russell why, and a lot of people point to the altitude. He says they're real comfortable on this field. Asante slipping through, but Lacroix got there before Aguinaga. Truth be told, they've been very good at home over this 3-year run that they've been on.
It's obnoxious. I mean, it truly is what they've done and who they've done it against as well. We'll take a look at, all right, they're 4-0-3. They closed out 2018 on a 5-0-1 run. They haven't lost since August 25th of 2018 against Sacramento Republic in a 2-1 loss.
The cross toward Calistri is knotted away.
They break it down even further, though. It's really what they've done on both sides of the ball. 34 goals for, 16 against. So in that 9-0-4 run, you've got a goal differential of plus 18. That's the biggest number there, is that they just, you can't hit the back of the net against them, and they are just throttling it on the offensive side of things.
Reno's made the playoffs every year of their existence, too. When you start with borderline guaranteed home field advantage every time out, that's a decent place to begin. Of course, we've also seen teams that are borderline unbeatable at home miss the playoffs. What Tampa Bay did last year. Look at where Hartford's at this year. They're not a bad team at home, but that early stretch on the road might have done them in. Aguinaga going shoulder to shoulder, and Lacroix knocks him right off the ball. Kasipli, Rivas. Good step forward by Musa to break up play. Asante. Calistri, that ball bouncing around and pinballs out. Rosano had nothing to say about that.
How lucky is Rosano on this with the ball coming back across? Little pinball action. One more opportunity just before halftime. Things have settled down a bit here. You can see the tactics at bay where both managers just shifting things side to side. Phoenix trying to find a way in the middle of the field to grab a bit more of a stranglehold. Reno on the other side of things. Feel like their decision making in the final third hasn't been the best.
Corner Phoenix, 45th minute, to the back post. Chance to hit that on the first time. A throw for Baquero. Drop this down. Dia chance to uncork. The Frenchman goes short for a bit of a walk up to it. Baquero. Dia. The spin, Aguinaga.
Keep an eye, there's that rotation I talked about. Solomon Asante all the way on the near touchline. Joey Calistri had rotated into the middle. Now he'll jump over there to help out on the defensive side of things, but that's what the look that Rising are going for, where they can overload one side, really play off of each other, and then spring the back post run in the likes of an outside back of Amadou Dia or Doumbouya.
Richards swerving in across. Lifted up by Doumbouya and caught by Lubin as we're 1 minute into 4 of first half added time. I think that's what makes Phoenix so impressive, that we talk about their ability to use their pace and speed and get out in transition, and that was their bread and butter last year. When you put Baquero, Aguinaga, Asante, Calistri in triangles or a square and tell them to knock the ball around, very technical. They can really embarrass teams. As Reno trying to force the issue here before halftime, find an equalizer. Masovsky waiting, run, percolating. Corner Reno.
John Baquero comes on loan from Toronto FC. Really made a big impact in the game, stretching back to Switchbacks FC, and that was the 2-2 tie. There was a let up just at the end. And his ability to rotate out into those sections you're talking about are really what they've focused on past few weeks.
Corner, Kasipli headed up and over by Richards, who had come available.
That's where those 2-10s and the likes of John Baquero, Aguinaga, and what Baquero was doing was he would rotate over right on the shoulder of the outside midfielder. Solomon Asante will use it as an example. And when he would go over there, Asante would almost be lost at times and didn't know what to do with it. You've got this extremely technical, talented player sitting within 5 yards, and he would start making overlapping runs. Asante doesn't want to go sit in the 10. That's not a look that he likes. He wants the ball out in front of him, going challenging players in transition. But it was such a good look for Rising going forward. Rick Shantz pulled it aside, said, yeah, this is something we got to focus on. And they have become so good at it that it has almost become second nature for them. That's where you see Calistri rotate in. Asante come back over to the left. You get overlapping runs of your 10s and Aguinaga, Baquero out on the wings where they invert themselves. And on the defensive side for Reno, that's difficult to mark. And with any team, it doesn't matter, but it's really hard to constantly account for these overlapping runs because you truly don't know what shape it's going to take.
And to go a step forward, when he first arrived and they started doing that in training, Rick Shantz just smiled, pulled him over and said, hey, why are you doing that? Why? And there's Rick Shantz in his first year as the man. He's been an interim now twice, first when Frank Yallop left, and then again when Patrice Carteron left midway through last year. And he just sort of has that feel for the game. He comes from an outstanding footballing family as well. Played at the very highest levels in Spain and then eventually finishing in Mexico. Caro's dad. Final 20 seconds of this first half. And Russell grab his pencil sharpener and head into the dressing room. Draw up the second half and see what this side can come up with to break through. Devin, a lot of chances for Reno. They don't capitalize. 1-0 to Phoenix at halftime on a really well-taken strike by Adam John.
This will be the tactical mindset of both managers, just trying to figure each other out. The naked eye will say this is lack of execution. That's not the case when you really break it down and see what they have or have not been able to do. It's poor decision-making in the final third. Managers will address it because, to your point, the chances are there.
When we come back, we'll show you news and notes from around the USL Championship, highlights from the opening half as well. Old and young Reno fans making their way out to Greater Nevada Park. This Tuesday edition of Wednesday Night Soccer. Phoenix by 1 at the half. Reno and Phoenix, two of the more well-supported teams in the USL Championships Western Conference. And when you think about the ability to create a fantastic brand around your team, you might go with Dollar Beer Night, or you could go with the biggest little city in the world. But for one team in the USL's League One, you just go full Mingo. Take a look at this in a moment.
Army will try again, and another. Crossing in, it's a goal! Army will try for goal again and find the back of the net. The cross keeps the winner! Another brace! Gallegos cuts it back! Gallegos! How about that finish?
And involve them in the process. What does it mean to go full Mingo?
Going full Mingo means...
What does it mean to go full Mingo?
You know what's funny is I actually hated that when I first heard it.
We say you never go half Mingo, you always go full Mingo. And that means just whatever the maximum extreme is, you go for it.
You're showing up there, you're passionate, you're wearing your gear, and you're being loud and proud in the brightest, boldest colors possible.
You're willing to be weird. You're willing to be, out there, stand proud.
Means to put all of your energy, your passion, and your love and support into Forward Madison. We're mere caretakers for this team. The team really belongs to Madison and the people of Madison.
I mean, I think everybody, to a certain degree, is interested in what their crest represents of the club they support. But it also means a lot more when the people that are actually in the stands every week are the ones that actually help make that happen.
The players on the field represent them.
From the get-go with our supporters, you can tell there's going to be a special connection. It motivates me every day to show up to training. It's why I play. And to be able to help foster a sense of community that fans and supporters connect with week in and week out, that's special to me. It's something that I cherish.
We've got a great facility to be proud of. We've got a team to be proud of. What this club is trying to do is offer a real sense of community to people from all different backgrounds, all different jobs, all different ages and everything. It's to each and every demographic as well.
The best thing we did was empower them, deputize them, and not get in their way. Just support them.
Devin, when's the last time you went full Mingo?
Never go full Mingo.
They want you to go full Mingo. You don't go half Mingo.
When's my next day off?
Okay, it's next Thursday after Wednesday night soccer. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr, let's get you caught up. USL Championship news and notes. Then we'll tell you why Devin can't go full Mingo till next Thursday. Rising top of the Western Conference, and they've done it in blowout fashion time and time again. Vegas and Pittsburgh, both 5-goal performances. Bob Lilly is not a defensive coach, let me tell you, and that's the proof.
That's what he says.
That's what I'm saying now.
Yeah, Bob Lilly and his defensive escapades. And look, it turned into a 5-goal rout. That was impressive. Las Vegas Lights, I like what they did, but let's not get crazy here. That was basically New Mexico United's B squad. And with all due respect, they had a lot of rotation. United lost versus Sacramento, win Open Cup. They lose to Vegas on the rotation because they're on the road now, hoping that they can make a run, get into the quarterfinals tomorrow night against FC Dallas.
They are slanted on $2 tequila night. Let's take a look at the upcoming USL Championship Wednesday night soccer schedule. And San Antonio El Paso is on ESPN News next Wednesday night. Then Devin and I at the stroke of midnight in the East will go full Mingo. El Paso's got a former U.S. men's national team guy. Let it rip right now, Kiesewetter.
He looks nice. He really does. And what he's been able to do, remember, he came in 4 or 5 games into the season. He's already hit the 10-goal mark, sitting atop the USL Championship with his buddy in the West, Kevon Frater, and Mark Lowry's boys. They look nice. Their last loss back against Phoenix Rising, that 2-0 when they came to town.
So that's on ESPN News, June the 26th, and we hope you join us for it as the reserves have made their way onto the field, and soon the starters will be back as well. We've got first half highlights coming up after this on Wednesday Night Soccer. Welcome back to Tuesday night's special edition of Wednesday Night Soccer. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr here on ESPN3 for the call as Reno trails Phoenix. Their unbeaten run at home is in jeopardy, and Phoenix trying to make it 6 consecutive wins. Let's take a look at opening half highlights between these two sides. Reno got forward quite a bit.
Second minute, Corey Herzog, back post. Nice ball in by Brent Richards. Like what he's brought out of the right back position so far. Really testing that left side of Amadou Dio, making him stay home and not allowing him to get involved in the run of play going forward. But guess who? Adam John once again. Great ball in by Asante. 8th assist for Asante. 9th goal for Adam John. First one for Phoenix. They were out in front early. And then they just continued on. What really was interesting was the movement by Reno and all of the numbers they have in the box. Right there, 7 players in blue shirts, allowing the back line to be tested. Zach Lubin leaves that near post open. They can't finish it off. Brent Richards pushes it to wide. Raul Mandela on the deflection. Corey Herzog feels like he has an opportunity. Lubin with the save near post. That was kind of the half chances you saw, and it really came down to poor decision-making by both teams. I mean, truly, it's where you take that one extra touch, unnecessary. You look for the extra ball, not needed. The run on the back post, you don't play it. This was the traffic in the middle. Lubin felt hard done. Free kick over the top by John Beccaro. And that's kind of where things just cooled off. Aguinaga would go to ground. There wasn't really that much. This was the best opportunity of the half for Reno. Muzowski out in front. Referee plays advantage. Gets it all wrong on the back post.
Well, if he hits that post and knocks it in, we're talking about something special. Similar here to Dia lashing that over the crossbar, and it's 1-0 at the half. First half stats indicate a Reno side that's been better in the final third than Phoenix has probably on the whole.
Still struggling, though.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, it's that final thought process that all the strikers are lacking. Corey Herzog has done it. Muzowski has done it. We've seen it out of every attacker from the boys in blue. Phoenix Rising a bit better. Not great, but a bit better. And you just have to find a way to tidy that up in the final third, because defensively, both of these managers are very good. And they're going to lock things down. Not as many chances probably going to happen in the second half. But don't be surprised if Phoenix Rising open it up and transition a little bit more. Reno did very well to sit in their block. If they start to lure them in, they can go the other direction with pace. Reno will just have to challenge their opportunities when they get them.
Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for Reno 1868 while we have a moment. Linda Mafeka might be back for that duel against Portland Timbers, too. We're in playoff position right now. And Sacramento at home. So a couple of really tough games lie ahead.
The good news is we'll get a couple at home against the likes of the Quails. Simon Elliott's boys feel like they've maybe turned things around, turned the corner, had a decent Open Cup game, couldn't finish it off though. And T2, they just continue. Cameron Knowles continuing to do what he did in 2018. Good run of form. Phoenix Rising, hope that they can finish tonight off, make it 6. And lucky number 7, travel to OKC Energy, Taft, Steve Cook's boys. And T2 back in town, RGV, Austin Bold. They'll look for some revenge there, as they were, to be honest, embarrassed in that 1-0 loss. And Marcelo Serrano's squad, who set so well on the defensive side. They're a team that really gives you so many different looks. Much better at home. They've struggled on the road.
So Phoenix trying to continue this 5-game win streak on the road and then into that upcoming schedule. It's the penultimate game before Phoenix gets back home. Devin, you think back to when these teams first met 2 years ago, 2017. It's the new look Phoenix. Frank Yalla leaves, and Rick Schantz thrust into the interim coaching role. That game was a blowout to the point where Rick went to his wife and said, hey, I hope you know, we might have to move. You never know. And ultimately, they bring in Patrice Carnterone. He sticks around as an assistant for the remainder of that year into the next. Then he gets a chance to lead the team last year as an interim. And all of a sudden, Rick Schantz wins the USL Championship final, moves in to a more stable role as the head coach moving into this year. And it didn't start very well, Devin. Too many draws, didn't lead for the opening 266 minutes of the season. 7 different times they trailed and equalized. And they kind of had to make sure that the criticism wasn't too biting. His wife was seeing it on social media. Rick's not on social media. And ultimately, they found a way to turn this thing around as we start the second half. And right now, Phoenix playing better, I think most would argue, than anybody in the league.
I want to be very clear here. I'm not saying that Phoenix Rising is Atlanta United, but I'm going to give you a little analogy here. Frank DeBoer comes in after Atlanta United goes out, does otherworldly things in 2018, Phoenix Rising as well, and he changed the system. Rick Shantz did the same. He wanted to play a bit more, play out of the back, give his boys an opportunity to really showcase the global game, and he feels like they've now found a way to do that, but it was difficult early on. Preseason jitters wasn't necessarily resulting in, positive run of form, and there were growing pains. Everybody wanted him. They had his head on a platter. They felt like, look, this isn't the way we want to go. We want to go back to the old ways.
Ball toward John is cleared, but he said ownership specifically very supportive through that stretch, saying, look, we were told ahead of time, we knew this is what was coming. Maybe not those results, but they knew they'd get it, right?
A cliche is a cliche for a reason. Trust the process. That's exactly why they're here right now, and you can see the technical footwork on display. They still can open teams up and go at 100 miles an hour. Defensively, much, much better as well. It's very different, and look, you need a goalkeeper that can play out of the back. You get both of them in the likes of Lubin and Wazinski, and just all of it has started to come together recently.
Zach Carroll nods it up and comes off of Asante. Seventh minute here. Asante trying to reach this. Of course, Ian Russell, when we talked to him this week, said, hey, we were off to a really bad start that year. I think it was 5 winless. We needed that win more than he did, but they still rib each other about it a bit.
Well, he said, they're friends, and he said, I feel a little bad. I was kind of embarrassed for him after the game, but I needed that win. Rick wanted to worry about his job. What about me? I already had a home. But it's a good camaraderie between the two managers, and to have the respect like that, especially when the rivalry is obviously ever present, really goes to show you how much they care about this game.
So there were 4 goals in that game, and then there have been 2 goals in the 3+ games since, one being tonight. Dia. Aginaga. Asante on the turn, whipped the shot off of Richards. They're both very affable coaches. We talked to some guys who it almost feels like they're still playing. You're kind of getting that answer. Both these guys really take you one notch further. It's impressive. Picaro on the ground, John. Ricochet over toward Dubois.
Nice little ball in by John Picaro, and then a good step by Zach Carroll stepping up onto Adam John. Space to be had in the top of the 18 right now. You can see that press that Rising use on a regular basis. Sitting back a bit deeper here at the start of the second half, not necessarily going right at Reno. Reno have an opportunity to just go a little horizontal in their actions, and most managers will tell you, I don't care if you go side to side, we'll give you that all day long, as long as these long balls coming over the back aren't truly threatening.
Push from Herzog. As the Battleborn Brigade continues to drum on in spite of the foul. Reno's really built something quite nice here. Good fan base, town that's bought in, coach that's watched some really good players circulate through here, including the great Dane Kelly, the USL Championship's all-time goal-scoring leader. Signing him when they did was almost like grabbing A-Rod right before he hit his, record home run kind of deal.
What a year that was, 2017. I felt like every single game that he stepped onto the field, at least one. And it wasn't just him. I mean, with all due respect to Dane Kelly, he did a lot. But there were so many names involved in that run.
Shifted across, ball cleared. Asante. Corner, Phoenix. Speaking of good fans, Phoenix having a little party right now at the Pig and Pickle in the Brass Tap. I don't know what kind of drink specials they're doing there, Dev, but we have ideas.
Promise you they're not $1.
No, no. Phoenix faithful are watching Wednesday night soccer tonight. Lifted away from Musovski. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. As Reno 5th in the West, Phoenix 1st. Phoenix the #1 goal scoring team in the league. The group that has jumped in front of their opposition in 2 straight games inside 10 minutes. That was a long-winded slide, but Mala and Diola lost it. That's more convincing for Reno.
Quite uncharacteristic of John Vaccaro to let that one spray out in front of him. Usually has this thing glued to his foot. Maestro in the middle of the field that has been really the one to get things going for Rising going forward.
Oh, that's excellent, John! Right at Bersano. Defeated Bersano. He's a player owned by San Jose and on loan to Reno, and yet we've been told he's the kind of guy who feels like he just has 2 teams right now. Doesn't fall for that trap of I'm on loan, the woes for me, but sometimes you do see that. Guys come on loan and they just don't fit in. Bersano is the ultimate team guy.
For the goalkeepers, it's interesting, something that San Jose has brought into play where he'll bring all of them up. They'll bring 3-4 of them into camp and let them all rotate with the San Jose Earthquakes, and then conversations with Ian Russell. Ian said, you know, we're always in communication, Matthias and I. Good relationship, and yeah, things have changed a little bit stepping in. We already talked about the tactics and the system that they're trying to slowly move in here. But when you have personnel that are treating it as such, where it's not, oh, I have to get on a bus, or oh, I have to get on a plane, or whatever it may be, to go back and forth, that's difficult. I mean, it truly wears, forget the physical side of things, mentally, it can be defeating. It's, oh, the next step and another one, and oh, when am I going to break through, and oh, I have to go back. That's not the case with these guys, though. They have all bought into what's going on between the 2 squads and are just happy to get the opportunity.
And I thought it was interesting you describing Phoenix as having a lot of the same tactical qualities as LAFC, and it's no surprise that they've brought guys in from LAFC and gained Bob Bradley's trust in teaching them the right way to play the way they want to play with LAFC, who are blowing the entire MLS out of the water right now.
Rick Schantz is not shy of talking about that either. When you dive further into it, you can see it, because LAFC basically does the same thing where Mark-Anthony Kaye will sit in that 6, much like James Musa. He inverts the 10s and lets them go forward, overlapping runs by the outside backs. They compress the middle of the field. There are just so many things that they do so well on a regular basis, hence the run of form by Rising, hence the good movement by LAFC.
If you were watching LAFC over on ESPN Plus the last few days, you and I have them in the Open Cup tomorrow night. Pardon, on Thursday night against San Jose. And I think we're just going to see the same thing playing out with different players to an extent, tactically at least. LAFC blew you away a bit.
When you asked me, you said, are they just that good?
Yeah.
And I said, look, they're a good team. Don't get me wrong. But other teams aren't necessarily doing themselves any favors. You know, a lot of ill-fated errors where they kind of put themselves in the wrong spots, and at the end of the day, you still got to go execute. LAFC does that. So it doesn't matter if you can put it down side to side, go back and forth. If a team gives you an opportunity, take Phoenix a couple games ago against Tulsa Roughnecks, and they were brilliant to Phoenix from start to finish. But time after time, Michael Ince and squad just kept coughing the ball up 25, 30 yards from goal. And yeah, there was pressure there, but there were times where they literally just played it right to Phoenix and they go the other way. And you see the same thing with LAFC at the MLS level in the Western Conference.
waiting for this to all come together. John Sante. John dragging run. Hooked away from him. His 9th goal of the year came in the 7th minute. Although he's currently competing for a different bonus in his contract. Ball over the top. Chested down Asante! Oh, that's gorgeous! Aginaga setting up Asante for a magnificent finish. Phoenix by 2.
And we told you how good they were on the ball. Tabuya, Bakero, Aginaga, Asante. 4 touches, 4 different players. 2nd goal of the night. How well done by Aginaga to take this off his chest, bring it back across his body to allow the Ghanaian to get the finishing touches off. Just that upper shoulder brings it all the way back across, outside of the foot, bottom corner. Thank you very much.
56th minute. And Asante's got his 8th of the year. He was 1 assist shy of a double-double last year, double-digit goals and assists. An MVP candidate, another year running. Guy Patrice Cartheron brought in. When he arrived, he won a Champions League title in Africa. And you saw that big smile on his face. And last year, you and I were at the USL Championship final, and we saw him come into the room. He was wearing an inflatable crown on his head. We're like, hey, man, what's with that? Or at least asking him about it. No, he had it at the Orange County Western Conference Final. He's like, I was trying to give it to Drogba, but everyone says he's the funniest guy on the team. You could just see it in that fluorescent smile that pops off his face.
When you get an opportunity to be around him, even if it's for just a brief moment, his laugh is contagious.
It is.
I had an opportunity. I was out there last year, and you could hear him all the way across the training ground, and each and every player say that, yeah, he's one of the funniest guys you'll meet. And, you know, that really showcases what he does on the field as well. It's the type of person that he is, and it doesn't matter if it's personal life, it's just regular, everyday conversation, or if it's running at 3 defenders on the back line. It's a true representation of what his personality is like. And obviously, Phoenix, grateful to have him on their side.
His father passed away earlier this year, and he missed a few games for that. And he was tweeting videos while he was back home, attending to that. He's from Ghana. Foul here from Galindo, and a yellow card shown. But there was so much love for his father, and the Phoenix faithful so poured their hearts out in response to his mourning. And he's come back on fire since. Set piece here for Phoenix in the 59th minute.
This is the step out. Galindo on that little movement through. See Reno just starting to fall behind a bit here. Approaching the 15-minute mark in the second half. Rising with a great build-up team goal. We talked about that at the top of the broadcast. Never truly lacking for brilliance, are they?
We'll step over. Line drive. Little English on it on the back end to Booyah. Sante. And Kasipli went to ground. And Adam John slap hands after.
A smart professional foul by Adam John, and you won't really see this show up on the statistics, but it's just a good job because this ball sprays across. They've got room to run on the far side. He knocks him over, lets everybody reset a bit.
Played onward toward Rivas. And it'll be a corner. You mentioned that smart pro foul on John's part. I mentioned there's another bonus he's after, not goal scoring. He put a shutout bonus in his contract. He went to Rick Schantz and said, if you want us to defend so much, I know I'm your number 9, but if I'm going to defend, I want a shutout bonus. Rick Schantz thought that was a great idea. Cross back over Richards on the touch by Masovsky.
There's a good look as Adam John making the near post run to help defend, and It shows you guys this is what they do on the defensive side, where everybody just drops in. He plays the high press. And he said, look, I've never had to be in a system like this. I'm as fit as I've ever been. Where's my reward?
Yeah, well, he's a Stanford man, so he's using that noggin to good effect. I mentioned that to another Stanford grad, and I didn't lead with, oh, Adam John, Stanford guy, and he goes, oh, you know where he went to college, right? Yeah, I know.
We get Cardinals. Now fly away out of this
Yeah,
conversation.
get out of here. I think it's just one solitary Cardinal. That'll run away from Mendiola. Phoenix without a couple players to Gold Cup. On Lambert. Did not feature against Honduras. Ryan Brown started. Junior Flemings came off the bench. Brown, leading goal scorer for this Reno side this year. The United States has overcome what was a lackluster last few weeks to open up a 4-0 lead against Guyana in their Gold Cup match going on right now. Attack is on here for Reno. And Richards disappointed with the end product.
Reno lacking here in the second half on the movement going forward. Credit to Rising, really establishing themselves as a higher quality defensive unit here in the second half. They were exposed many a time in the first. Johnson, his supporting cast, so Blair Gavin, Pete Ramage, and of course the talisman who helps out his goalkeepers. Come on. Corey.
Yeah.
Corey
okay.
Robinson.
Yeah.
He's another one who's kind of got that personality like Solomon Asante, but they've made the correct changes here in the second half. Really haven't allowed Reno to play a lot more. They had a pretty decent spell of possession opening 45 minutes. You can see the middle of the space locked down much better. Outside backs taking on their marks more fluently. Herzog and Muzovsky really struggling up top, and that was an interesting talking point with Ian Russell, where he said, you know, can you describe the relationship in your opinion, and the difference between the two when it's Corey with Danny up top as opposed to Brian Brown? He said, look, Brian gives us a different dimension. He allows us to stretch that back line a bit more, and that creates multiple levels where we can break teams down, as opposed to when you pair Corey and Danny together, and Corey and Danny up top give you the opportunity to play a bit more.
There's Masovsky. Rising effort, Mendiola set him up, and that's off in to the Battleborn Brigade.
Some of the look where it's just possession-oriented. Ball can spray back across to Mendiola, put it out in front of Masovsky. A lot of times with Brian Brown, it's a one-and-done type deal where it's a ball over the top, everybody else chasing. Not the case with the look they're giving you tonight. Looked decent in the first half, but really the fruit chance that we've seen here in the second sprays over the top of the bar.
I think Lubin and Herzog got in a bit of a kerfuffle. Phoenix in possession here. Herzog mentioned the goalkeeping talisman for Phoenix. About for Reno, Dom Jokabek, the former Sacramento Republic goalkeeper, is helping to train this Reno side that's got a youth international, U23 guy, and JT Marcinkowski as well, working alongside Bersano and DJ Damian Lewis in all of his glory on the bench and available tonight. Miami guy.
Spinning the ones and twos.
Yep.
Marcinkowski was actually in the preliminary 40-man roster for the United States men's national team for Gold Cup. Got to go to training camp and get an opportunity to play with the big boys. Didn't make the final 23, but still a nice progression for him.
Asante. Just out of the reach of John, whose frustration is evident. You can tune in to ESPN News on June the 26th. The Wednesday night soccer returns to its normal night and time. The newest rivalry in the USL, battle for the Lone Star State And Copa Tejas continues. El Paso Locomotive, San Antonio FC from the Alamo City. Catch all the action June the 26th, 8:30 Eastern Time on ESPN News for Wednesday Night Soccer. Rivas. Ball played toward Mendiola. Masovsky trying to turn. Masovsky sliding to keep it alive. Phoenix led from the 7th minute. Adam John, his 9th, and Solomon Asante, not one to be outdone. A goal in the 56th, his 8th. Mendiola circles around. He gets ripped down, and a yellow card. So Calistri could do to slow that down.
There's the speedy Raul Mendiola. Yeah, I know, I got you on that one. Cutting back inside. Troubling as the second half been for him.
Kasipli. We've mentioned Raul Mendiola a little bit, but you think back to last year, he signed in May off the street by Las Vegas Lights. It's a guy that I think everybody knew was really good with LA Galaxy as an academy player, got into Galaxy 2, reached a USL Championship final with Galaxy 2, and just sort of fizzled out there. Al Chalice brings him in. He's probably the brightest star for Las Vegas Lights last year, and then pops up in Reno. And you want to talk about finding a little bit of gold over the offseason. That was their #1 target.
First off, the fact that this guy even made it to the street before the Lights picked him up is confusing in general.
Chance to get this across, the slide. And there's going to be a foul here, which I think is as much to do with the fact Herzog went down in as much pain as he did. As the actual action itself, the AR giving a thumbs up back to the referee as if to agree with the call.
You'll get a better look on the challenge. Inaga coming back across, studs up, and this is one of those ones you have to wonder. Taylor Twellman brought a good point up a couple weeks ago, actually probably trailing back about 2 months. You don't always have to make contact. People are confused by that. If the intent is there, you can still call a foul. And you may not agree with that, but it is in the book. I mean, that is what the referees have to go by, and whether Herzog gets caught here or not has yet to be seen. Still an opportunity for Reno nonetheless. And go back to Mendiola for a second. Frustrating performances under El Chalice and Isidro Sanchez. And if he's frustrated and still turns out 10 goals in 22 games, I'll take that.
Any day. Kasipli's last effort wasn't all that impressive. This time, skied into the air. Mendiola knocked away from him. I hadn't heard the cliche in a while, but I enjoyed hearing that Seth Kasipli, as a guy in the locker room, is, quote, cool as a cucumber. It's just been a while since I've heard it. Here comes the outstanding super sub, Aiden Apodaca, off the bench. Give a different look than Danny Masovsky does. Masovsky, probably the best player in preseason for Reno, broke his jaw, missed 7 weeks. Came back in the Open Cup and gives way to Apodaca now with 20 minutes for Apodaca to make an impact.
Aiden's gotten 5 opportunities so far, 2 of which ended up with him scoring, and a guy that was pretty impressive for the Bethlehem Steel last year. Unfortunately, just a massive amount of talent in that organization. He got pushed by the wayside. Quality pickup for Ian Russell. Another one that he said that had always been on our radar. Secondary school and D2 coming out of Cal Baptist, and he said, you know, with his ceiling, it's really, really high. Just lacking some of that decision-making. Things that he got away with at that level, he tries again to push into the limelight here, and that's not necessarily the case. You just can't push in the same direction, and that's probably the inner demons that have spilled over. He's really had to fight across.
Herzog letting fly. I mentioned that he came to a combine at San Jose, and they looked at him there, but Philly got there first. Reno was watching that draft. Apodaca actually wasn't. He missed watching himself get picked. It was Phoenix a chance to get some numbers here. Sprinting forward into the final third. Third goal could be a backbreaker. Lofted across, John! And Bersano, enough to touch that away.
Great run by Adam John on the back post here. The ball is even better. And the little nudge by Brent Richards does just enough to make sure the number 9 doesn't go double digits against Reno with 20 minutes to play.
Caro, the corner for Phoenix. Lifted away, long distance try, skies over from Musa, who was backstopping for, as I think the kids say, the Rising. I don't know if the adults do.
It's frowned upon in this establishment.
Oh, it is? Okay.
James Musa trying to channel his performance of RGV a few weeks ago where he got his first goal in a Phoenix Rising uniform, that 3-1 victory back on May 10th. That was the start of this run that they're on right now. 5 unbeaten, trying to make it 6. All coming off of that loss on the road. Championship Soccer Stadium, Orange County 2-1 loss. So they got a little bit of retribution recently in that 3-0 at Casino Arizona Field.
Devin, are you saying I just made a couple enemies in the Valley of the Sun with that?
They probably aren't hearing you right now. They're on their own show. This is Reno. The static gets in the way. It's not funneling over on the broadcast.
Asante Dumbuya. Early ball off of Lacroix. Another corner here for Phoenix. Leestree getting involved again. Colin Fernandez is standing by the 4th official. They were looking to get him a little more time. He's looking to make just his 7th appearance of the year. Caro on the ground. Cycle this back toward Asante. Asante snapped back by John. Headed down, Farrell. That'll carry him out. Another corner for Phoenix. Farrell's pretty good with his head, but looking to be pretty nifty with his feet.
He's a former Bob Lilly protege. There's all the offensive exploits on full display.
Yeah.
Remember, Bob Lilly, not a defensive coach. All right, Bob.
One year was enough, I think, for Farrell there. He played for his dad, a legendary coach at LaSalle, too. Service wound across. I was asking Farrell a couple of years ago, hey, so how does your dad know Bob Lilly, or how do you end up in Rochester? He goes, no, there was, I don't know if it was his agent or he reached out, but one way or another, it wasn't through his dad, who was such a good coach, over 30 years at the collegiate level, the Explorers in Philly. And Colin Fernandez has made his way on. Last year, some injuries knocked his confidence down a peg.
Struggling with the same here in 19, bitten by the bug, and he was one of the other ones that they discussed a position change with him, possibly going to the left back for a few reasons. Felt like he was talented enough to do so, Rick Shantz and the crew, and also they lacked depth. They didn't have someone who could step in there. They've since changed that a bit, and the likes of Kyle Bjornathan, FC Tucson man who's come up. A few opportunities for Rising. And Colin Fernandez just said, I feel more comfortable in the middle of the field, feel like that's where I want to make my name for myself. Trying to get him fully healthy so that he'll have the opportunity to do so.
Asante. And here comes Phoenix. Looking for their third. It's a little dribbling clinic. Broke down. Asante. Bersano took a bullet there and allows it to run out.
And just like that, they lull you to sleep. Quick little touch, Asante. What a strike. Just puts a boatload of power on it. It's trailing away from the goalkeeper as well. Difficult to defend. Well taken.
Update on the earlier the Rising comment. I just got called out by the Twitter feed, so all across. Be there for Aganaga. You know when Jose Bosch resorts to Twitter fingers, you know you're in trouble. Phoenix's creative guru.
I'll just give you a hint if you want to steal his heart. You got to go back to the maize and blue. Talk about Michigan, he'll be happy.
I'm from Ohio. You know how offensive that was?
Exactly. Now you're really doing him a favor.
Change is coming. It's Andrew Wheeler-Ominu checking on. Aginaga is done.
This is something that Phoenix Rising feel like they've gotten out in front of. You know, they wanted to utilize FC Tucson a bit better and just create this relationship where they've got guys that looking to continue their pro career on, and Andrew Wheeler-Ominu coming out of the Atlanta United system over there, and you know, they've had a few coaching changes, obviously very different than what he was doing for the Crimson Tide, and just a resurgence for him. This is an opportunity that you have to take full advantage of. One of the better squads in the Western Conference, not at their best tonight, Reno. Still time to make a argument about that. You get to come in, really challenge the middle of the field, and you know, give the manager something to discuss. Tell him, hey, I deserve to be involved in the discussion with Aginaga, Beccaro, and of course, how deep that middle of the field goes in the likes of James Musa, Colin Fernandez. The list goes on and on. And oh, by the way, that's only going to get deeper for Rising. As you take a look down, Lambert's going to come back into play from international duty with Jamaica. And oh, by the way, a little-known guy by the name of Alessandro Ricci coming back from that horrific knee injury. So they just rich get richer.
Goodness, is it going to be great to see Ricci back on the field. Such an exciting player when he's on.
But he hit a point last year. There was a stat line for him that when you broke down the minutes played, added it to goals and assists provided in those opportunities, he was averaging a point every 25 minutes.
Wow.
Obnoxious.
Yeah.
Mind you, most of his runs were only about 20, 25 minutes, but when he's doing it every game, why not?
Ian Russell told us this might be the deepest team in the entire league. Sipley going over the top. And a touch to deflect it away from Lacroix by Dumbuya. By that notion, Reno also admitting that they wanted to test themselves against arguably the best team in the West and see where they stood. It's a Reno side that got off to their best start of any of their USL championship seasons, each of which has ended in a playoff game. Is this a chance to turn the tide a bit? Kasipli. Wheeler-Ominu.
It's a great clearance here by Colin Fernandez. It's not just a let's hit the reset button, puts it away from every single player in a blue shirt down in the corner. The subtle things that don't always show up when you go back and look at the highlights. This could have easily been put right down the middle of the field. Quick little touch by Zach Carroll, and they're back at it. Not the case. And just like that, all 11 in red behind the ball.
Rivas goes back. Reno 5th in the Western Conference. It's tight right now. They're 3 points off the pace of Phoenix. Early this year, they felt like they dropped a lot of points to the cutting room floor. Oklahoma City, Orange County, Tulsa gave up leads, left points in those matches. And all in all, they feel like they've been pretty consistent. And, you know, tonight, if they get just one of those, maybe 5 half chances or better in the first half to go, It's a different result. Alas, Phoenix found the second goal of this game. The cross away from Apodaca. Cross field, Janjigian! And Lubin guarding the post. And this is out for a throw.
Good save by Lubin, and this also goes back to conversion rate, right? Your ability to close things out and truly execute. Phoenix, one of the best in the USL Championship in that situation. Top 5, 19%. Reno, you have to track down a bit further. All the way at 16, and 3% doesn't sound like a lot when you're pumping chances such as that. It is. I mean, it truly is. Great save by Lubin on the far post, and they really haven't been able to capitalize, to be honest, with the long throw of Corey Herzog. It's such a good weapon when you progress down here into the final third. Just rotate him out, throw a long one in, let him go get it. None of the big bodies been able to rise to the occasion, though.
Musa down. Still a collision there with Lubin. Musa missed the final last year. It was a 1-0 loss to Louisville City. That was the final game of Didier Drogba's illustrious career. It was the last game before Chris Cortez made the move overseas for Louisville. Got the goal from Luke Spencer. Took the back seat much of the season to Cameron Lancaster as he won the USL Championship's Golden Boot. And Phoenix's magical run stymied at the last moment in front of a sellout crowd in Kentucky. Mendiola and Reno able to find a goal in this one despite 10 in their last 3 games. And they are about 10 minutes away from watching their 7-game unbeaten streak this year that runs even further back to last year. It's 13 in total at home. To a conclusion. There's Musa holding on to the hinge that keeps that jaw up. Rick Shantz has to consider what comes next. Rick Shantz looking snappy on the day.
I'm just looking, I'm thinking, is that a new suit? Pretty sure it is.
You know?
For Rising, they will hopefully finish things off here. They've got a little bit of work left to do. Just 7 and change, as Reno still has a chance to get back into this. They've got a pretty interesting run when you look at it. I mean, coming into the Orange County match, you think, okay, Orange County on the road Reno, on the road OKC, home T2. These are the top of the Western Conference for sure, and they're just continuing their progression here. Asante has a little fun with Kasipli. And just try and get better each and every time out. You talked about how deep this bench is and opportunities to be had for the youngsters as well, and guys that are trying to get back into it.
Uh-oh, Lacroix. Lacroix makes the space, ball pinballing around. Lacroix keeping. And there's a push beforehand from Lacroix in pursuit of the ball.
Felt like maybe this would have been the spark to get Reno going forward. Duke Lacroix, just a great individual effort. Right at the tail end of this, though, no reason to overextend the arm on Willow Aminu. It gets away from him, and that's just kind of how this second half has gone. Reno stymied offensively. And what Rising has been able to counteract tactically. We talked about the two managers and how good they've been, not only knowing themselves, but more importantly, knowing the opponent. You and I were chatting in the conference calls. They basically described each other
perfectly
and the other team to a T, knowing exactly what they're doing. Sometimes that's how it plays out too, where one will just find a little added incentive to get out in front. That's what Rising has been able to do under Rick Shantz.
Badaka couldn't get that to Mendiola, and nearly a Jossie Zardes goal-looking ricochet off the face. There's someone with a dual screen experience tonight who's like, yeah, I get that reference. Bersano playing out of the back. Wednesday night soccer on a Tuesday night. Midway point of the year for most teams in the league. This will be a corner for Reno 1868. Reno without Brian Brown, Linda Mafeka, a couple of their biggest offensive weapons and their most clinical. Phoenix without a couple key pieces in the midfield and in their attack. Corner Kasipli. Richards just cleaned a player out. Well, this euphoric run for Phoenix is on the verge of continuing to a 6th straight game. 6 straight wins. In that span, they have shut out 3, potentially 4 teams now, and it'll include 2 wins on the road. Adam John, the opening goal in this affair, and then Salman Asante scored for the 5th game running. May I say this, Devin, as Reno's Rivas goes down. Rick Schantz felt the next progression for this team was a good win against a good team on the road. Reno fits that bill to a T. Galindo making his way off.
Keep in the back of your mind as well, this run that they're on. Obviously, we don't want to get too out in front of it, but chasing the ghosts of USL Championship past and the likes of FC Cincinnati, who won 10 in a row last year from August 12th.
This lifted up. Lubin will pull it down
to September 29th. And take it back one step further. Almost by any Western Conference team. Real Monarchs, they won 9 consecutive in 2017 in their route to their regular season championship. That, of course, fizzled out. That number 1 versus number 8. Quite difficult over the past couple of years in the West.
Well, that 6 straight wins would be a club record, too. So 18 points of 18. Has you in a good spot. You just don't want to peak too early. And I think you would say if you're Phoenix, let's get healthy and then talk about peaking. For their 3rd goal here, Mendiola. That's a great little stab at it. Lifted the other way. Didn't mention it previously. Nathan Ani did play in the Open Cup against Sacramento, but this is his pro debut in the USL Championship. Draft pick of San Jose. And that's enough on the night for Adam John. He's done it again. Another goal. Penn Spencer will come on in his stead.
Quality shift by Adam John up top once again, and just his ability to showcase on all sides of things. We talked about what he's been able to do on the defensive side for his contract.
If I'm him, I'm walking out with my palm up like,
right.
All right, Rick.
Yeah, pay me.
Pay
cash.
Pay that man his money.
He's done well and offensively as well. Good little shout between Calistri and Mendiola. That's been a fun matchup on the touchline.
Laid forward. Nothing there for Richards to produce. For Spencer, appearance number 7. He actually came in with FC Tucson. Knocked ahead cleverly by Ani. They've been watching him for years, Ani. Physical, good in the air. Comes out of Seattle University where he was a 4-year starter. There's the long throw. Lubin got a palm to that. A foul in the process of getting that away.
Said needed to find a way to get more involved and take advantage of these opportunities. How about that? Great save by Lubin on the near post. With substitute Nathan Ani trying to get involved, and maybe the one that got away from Reno here tonight. Too many chances in the first half. Couldn't close things out. Phoenix had a few. They buried them. Got one in the second to get out in front and have been coasting ever since.
Sergio Rivas. There's a yellow card there. It's Colin Fernandez. Will go into the book. His 3rd yellow card in 7 games. He's been a bad boy.
Nobody gives credit for good behavior, right?
You never did.
To be fair, the USL Championship does if you keep clean for 5 games.
5 straight games.
Yeah, right. It's never happened to me.
If you're in contention for that suspension, you aren't getting to the 5 games.
No. better look at Fernandez just not allowing Sergio Rivas to go the other way.
But can I say I appreciate that? I know it's become more commonplace in professional leagues to go about it that way, but 34 games to try and not get 5 yellow cards is a little extreme, even for guys that do play by the rules. Again, this means nothing to you. Nothing with your playing career. Nothing.
Oh, I had a yellow before we came on air.
4 minutes of stoppage time. Here's Asante. Great ball sneaking through. Spencer now overrun by Janjigian, but circles back. Fernandez lifted it wide with a deflection and root. Corner Phoenix.
Some confidence. They've really tried to get into Ben Spencer. He had an opportunity, should have just taken a touch and hit it. Well done by Fernandez to follow the play up. Asante just threading the needle once again. What a shift he's put in tonight.
Well, there is one fan that's keeping the hope alive for Reno here. One young fan. Of course, the supporters section still drums away, but young fan who's for a miracle here. Caught by Lubin. Well, for Reno, as far as a measuring stick, part of this deal is simply finishing their chances in the first half. Other than that, how do you feel that they stacked up?
Definitely better performance in the first half.
Agreed.
You could see what they were able to do, and it showcased that diamond in the middle. They've moved away from that. They went quite flat in the middle of the field, to be honest, and that was Sergio Rivas getting frustrated, not having the distribution into his feet that we saw in the opening 45 minutes, and he went ball hunting. Kasipli started to open up wide a little bit, and there was a lack of cohesion really branching out to the guys up top. That's where you saw things get quiet for Danny Musovski and Corey Herzog. But you got a better look at the challenge in the middle of the field. There's Asante coming across with Kasipli leading on the challenge. The overlapping runs and Richards and Lacroix then ceased to exist because you didn't have that outlet pass. There wasn't the hold-up play and then the movement outside. So it really broke down into these 1v1 battles that they weren't able to win. And that's not looking good when you go up against Phoenix Rising. You have to find a way to exploit them in other areas. Promising, though, they showed you glimpses in the first. And this is just a tactical adjustment that Phoenix was able to make on the road. Reno couldn't do at home. That illustrious 9-0-4 run we talked about with the plus 18 goal differential, that's going to have to take a back seat. They take their first loss in a while. But still some positives to come out of it. And you saw it earlier on this year sometimes where, you know, similar things happen where they couldn't close it out. I mean, look, just a couple weeks ago, they were up 2-0 on San Antonio. They lost 3-2.
Yeah.
And that was one of the looks there. On the road, Tacoma. Sorry. If you want to compete and say, look, I deserve to be in the topic of conversation as one of the best in the West, you can't give up points to Tacoma. It can't happen. I don't care if you're on the road or not. And then, of course, the April 27th, El Paso lost 1-0, chalk that up. I mean, El Paso's a good squad. That's probably home team takes that either way.
Well, Sante's back up and making his way off. If I'm Rick Shantz, I'm saying let's just play with 10. Ball headed back in front. Great sliding finish. The third goal for Phoenix is an absolute beauty. Fernandez setting up Wheeler Aminu. Beg your pardon, other way around here.
How about that? How about that? And camera playing tricks on us. Joey Calistri gets on the tail end of this. Well done execution from Phoenix, and this is what happens. You just switch off here. Long ball into the back post. Something straight off the training ground. Colin Fernandez into Wheeler Aminu. And Joey Calistri, the trailing run. Utter disgust by Nathan Awney on the back post. And just like that, Phoenix get a third for what seems to be a regular occasion for them, as they have now done it in 4 matches running, dating all the way back to that 4-2 comeback victory versus Real Monarchs.
Calistri, 14 goals the last 2 years, his second goal of this season, and for Reno, it's academic. Mendiola over Richards could take us to the end. Coming up post-game, we got your highlights from Wednesday night soccer. Get you ready for, well, next Wednesday when we have Wednesday night soccer.
Come again?
Indeed.
Okay.
Headed back, Janjigian was a stoppage in this added time. That's full time. Phoenix, a club record 6 consecutive wins, and they didn't need dollar beer night this time around. Reno 1868's unbeaten start at home is over. Wednesday night soccer concludes with a 3-0 win for Phoenix. Highlights coming up after this. No hocus pocus tonight in Wednesday night soccer. Phoenix a 3-0 winner over Reno, who did not get a goal early on, and eventually Phoenix put the pedal down. A second goal early in the second half, and they seal the deal 4 minutes into stoppage time. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. Take a look at full-time highlights, and we'll show you what Phoenix did to jump in front. Adam John, 9th of the year.
Started early, very well done. The big number 9 up top. Just a good ball out in front. Asante found him on the trailing run, top of the 18. Gonzo trying to get double digits. Hasn't happened yet, but you better believe it's in the near future. This was quite confusing on the back post. Zach Lubin not happy with the referee's decision to really allow the goalkeeper to be commanding of his box inside the 6. Mazovsky couldn't get it right, and that was how Reno's night would go. It was half chances here and there, poor decision making. Anytime push came to shove, when they had a chance on the doorstep, they couldn't get it done. Phoenix, professional performance. They would bide their time until individual brilliance. And when I say individual, it's individual in the form of 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, 4 players, back of the net. Solomon Asante gets his 8th goal, 8th assist. Phoenix will get 3 points. But hey, by the way, let's finish it off. Why not add insult to injury? One more goal down the stretch came in the likes of a set-piece opportunity. Even though they would keep pounding the door, it was right at the tail end of things. It would come in the likes of Colin Fernandez, who would then find trailing run of the back post, substitute Andrew Wheeler-Aminu, and Joey Calistri would finish it off. Again, not too much to be had for Reno. Good save on the near post by Lubin, but it all came down to the 3rd goal. And funny how you and I were just talking about it. You switch off for 1 second, they make you pay. I mean, it doesn't matter what the buildup is. You have to play for a full 90 and beyond against this talented Rising squad. Reno couldn't finish it off. Phoenix could. They get 3 points. They stay atop the Western Conference.
Great finish by Calistri, and Lubin keeps a shutout here. Here are the full-time stats. Reno gets 21 shots. This is not a lost effort on their part. They don't get any points tonight, but there were moments where you thought, okay, this team is in good position moving forward.
But how many of those came in the first half, and how many of those just sailed wide of the bar? I mean, 5-10 yards wide of the bar, nothing truly threatening Zach Lubin for the course of the night. Wondered what could have been for the boys up top. Out of the absence of Brian Brown, or if Aiden Apodaca had come on earlier, Ian Russell will be frustrated with his boys' performance. But again, we talked about how talented these two managers are, what they've been able to do over the course of the 19 season so far. They'll be fine. They'll get back to work. They'll get back to business. They'll get back to winning ways.
Well, for Phoenix, go out, have a $2 tequila or whatever and a nice crustaceous meal, because you are atop the standings in the Western Conference. 3 points clear now of El Paso, Devin.
They'll be looking down the road just a little bit as they get to challenge El Paso on August 10th. Remember, El Paso 9 unbeaten since that loss to Phoenix Rising in that 2-0 victory. Phoenix Rising cruising right now. United slipped T2 back and forth, so some room to be had there. And remember, they've also got a game in hand on New Mexico United.
So the Western Conference a little more pulled apart than it was at the beginning of Wednesday Night Soccer. Thanks, Reno, as always. A wonderful home venue, Greater Nevada Field, for outstanding producer Ahmed Mohammed, our director Josh Jack in all his glory, Guadalupe Escobar, John Fink, our entire Vista WorldLink team, and Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts, saying thanks for watching. Phoenix Rising, doesn't matter what night it is, always bringing their best. A club record 6 straight wins. Phoenix 3, Reno 0. Good night.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.